Hello, thank you for joining the midweek edition of Journalist Hangout. I am Ayodele Ozubakun. Today on the Hangout, Abia government declares 3-day curfew as Ohaneze demands troops withdrawal. Inspector General says purveyors of hate speech risk 10 years jail term. And later on the program, Governor Nasiru El-Rufai says half of Kaduna teachers penned for reabsorption fail primary 4 exam. I'll be hanging out with Gani Kayode Balogun. Yemi Ajayi will be making his debut and Adeola Yusuf. So if you're ready, let the hangout start now. Glad to join you again. Umuahia, the capital of Abia State, might appear calm on the map of Nigeria, but its skies are soaked with nerve-wracking tension. On Sunday, the fragile peace in the city was cut loose when members of the indigenous people of Biafra, IPOB, they call them, clashed with some Nigerian soldiers. Reports say no fewer than 3 persons were injured in the clash. 3 days after, both groups clashed again. The Guardian newspaper actually reported that at least 15 persons were killed and some vehicles were set ablaze in another ugly encounter. The governor of the state, Okeze Ikpeazu, has declared 3 days curfew to calm nerves. Today, blood is boiling in the southeast. Ohaneze wants the federal government to demilitarize the zone, and Southeast senators are calling for restraint and respect for people's rights. How did Nigeria get into this quagmire? And this will remind me of, it all started, you know, with Operation Python Dance 2. Yeah. GKB, let me start from you. Yeah. Somebody asked me yesterday that if I were to be the president of the Federal Republic of Nigeria, how would I have managed the case of Nnamdi Kanu? Would I have folded my arms? Would I have waited till October while it gets, when it goes to court, a day in court, and see what the judiciary will do? How did you manage this situation?
Well, the federal government is in what we call a catch-22 situation. That means that the government is damned if it does, and damned if it doesn't. And you can't please everybody. But according to the Nigerian laws, the federal government has done the right thing. They've moved quickly to douse rising tension. I'm very impressed with the military's PR, because normally it will take about 2-3 days for them to react to information or misinformation, depending on who you are talking to. But in the last few days, they've done very well. Other than that, when one news is trending, the army will come out and deny, and then show proof that this is what really happened. That, to me, is the only negative that we can bring out of this. But like I said, it's a no-win situation. The moment IPOB started wearing uniforms, started arming people, started creating...
Were they arming people?
It doesn't matter.
Were they? No, we need to get the fact right.
Again,
were they arming people?
With the moment you start 2 things. If you are peaceful protesters, it's a different thing. If you are daring the states by putting people in uniform, not necessarily military, by giving them titles like special forces, by trying to create a paramilitary force outside normal system, no normal government will sit by. Let us remember, the Geneva Convention states clearly that that is the red line that you must not cross. As of that moment, you become an enemy combatant because you are identifiable. Until then, you are still a minority that has been oppressed by government. But that's not the issue here. The issue here is that government must continue to be patient. Let them show the stick, but also show the carrot. Because if this thing should tilt over, nobody knows how to end.
David?
Yes.
There's so much propaganda in the air. We don't, you know, as journalists, we make it a point of duty to get first-hand information and what really happened and IPOB is spinning so much and we don't know who to believe, maybe from the side of IPOB or the Nigerian army. But at the same time, we saw what happened to the secretariat of at the secretariat of the NUJ in Abia. At least that will give us a picture of what could have gone wrong during the confrontation. Because if a set of soldiers had gone to the secretariat of Nigerian Union of Journalists, I don't think that's an extension of IPOB office.
Well, I can't agree with you. That's certainly not an extension of IPOB office, and by my own estimation, it's just a case of demonstration of overzealousness by the Nigerian military. And it's something that is very common and a reflection of the carryover of the military hangover that we had all over the years. The military just believed that once they're on duty, at least they should be left alone. Any attempt by the media to do their job, they see that as interference. So I think that's basically. But having said that, I want to say that what really happened at the NUJ Secretariat is also a reflection of what might have happened at the Kanu's homestead. I think yesterday I saw a video on Facebook, so to say. Well, let me put a caveat. I can't vouch for the integrity of the video. It was about 30 minutes, and since I don't know the origin, I don't know whether it had been dug up before it was posted. So let me put that caveat there. But be that as it may, the video showed IPOB members attacking the military.
IPOB members?
Well, supposedly IPOB members, civilians.
Okay.
With
attacking the military.
Attacking the military. And that comes with one issue. We talk of issue of weapon. What do you classify as weapon? It is not when you carry guns that you are armed. Weapon is anything capable of causing bodily injury to the other person. That is weapon. Some of them were armed with stake, cudgels, and so on. But that is weapon. And that is certainly provocative. But you all know that this whole drama is built around propaganda. There is so much propaganda going on. You really need at least to monitor what is coming out from the southeast, especially from these IPOB supporters, to know that the game is all about propaganda. Because by the time you see a piece of information, it will have been twisted. Just before this program started, I read, at least from Punch Online, that there was a military aircraft hovering over Kanu's homestead in Umuahia. So, and of course, there was a video posted by somebody. The veracity of that, the integrity of that video, I can't say, because it could be some. So it's possible a military aircraft was passing through that way, and somebody would just grab it and they tell. So there's just so much misinformation in the public domain over this. But that does not take away, at least, the genuineness or otherwise of the cause for which they are fighting for. Now, it's the method now that is the problem. So definitely we have to look at it from those two sides.
Adela, I think in as much as the federal government have tried before now to exercise restraint in the essence that since Kanu was granted bail, it was seen every other day flaunting the bail conditions, but it took the federal government some time to move in. And they've not even moved in because what they're saying is that this is Operation Python Dance 2. I don't know the meaning of that. Military exercise, in Abia maybe that's a coincidence, or I don't know how Abia, but a lot of the Ohanese and Igbo people, they are saying that, look, we need to separate Kano from the common, Easterners on the streets, because by the time the military, they start whatever they want to do, it will affect people, maybe innocent people on the streets.
Yeah, I would be so surprised if that will not, I mean, if I don't have that from coming from Ohanese, because it's a socio-cultural group that is expected to at least vent agitations or issues from that side of the country. It is expected. But I think we get into this quagmire the day we pass through that ugly route of a civil war. And after that, everyone just kept quiet as if nothing really happened. There was a country in Africa that is known as Rwanda. Rwanda had a similar experience, and they had a template. After a civil war was fought, everyone was moving around as if nothing really happened. A lot of people lost their loved ones. You don't expect them to just forget just like that. And someone from outside the country started something that a lot of people has been buried in the minds of a lot of people. And what you did was to even make him by arresting him and putting him in. So that has happened repeatedly. It's not something that just happened. Operation Python Dance 2 is not, it's not something that just happened. I mean, it's not as a result of just something that just happened today. It's something that has been happening over and over again. So as it is now, I want to believe that the Ohanese Indigbo has done what is expected of it. The military has done what is expected of it. The federal government has done what is expected of it now. But it is not too late. It is bad, but it could be worse. I want to advise that the blood is boiling in that part of the country. If we don't quickly take actions, the action I would advise now is as you are using the stick, you should try as much as possible to use the carrot. So that at the end of the day, we don't start what no one will know how it is going to end. It is not too late. I watched the spokesperson for the military a few minutes ago when he was tendering unreserved apology for what happened at the NUJ. That is a good one. I watched a lot of propaganda and counter-propaganda, if you allow me to use the word, happening at the moment. So I want to advise that it is at the moment it is now, it can still be curtailed. And I want to advise all the stakeholders, Ohanese Indigbo, aside from issuing this warning or advice to the government to demilitarize the zone, has a lot of work to do. They should be seen. They will argue that they have been talking to Kanu, but they should be seen as talking to Kanu. They should be seen as trying to ensure that they balance the equation. While they are advising the federal government to demilitarize, they should try as much as possible to talk to what has made the government to militarize that zone.
GKB, unemployment. When you look at the followers of Nnamdi Kanu, largely, unemployed youths, largely, people that are uneducated, and the doctrine of marginalization has, gone down. And by the day, you cannot but ask Kanu, what is the bone of contention here? Because his gospel is growing, and his followers keep growing. And a lot of people will say Nigeria or the government of Nigeria ignoring this young man might just be counterproductive.
Yes, I just want to quickly clarify something. The civil war ended 47 years ago. I don't think anybody in the Kanu camp up to that level. Most of them are children, or most of them are not even born when the war ended. I think this is basically something that I put squarely on the foot of the Igbo leadership, because they started the propaganda by distorting what happened during the war, distorting why the war took place, and not letting us have a resemblance of normalcy. When you speak to a lot of people who are bound into the Kano thing, and they are not young men, most of them are not illiterates, some of them are fairly educated, and you see people you know normally, you've known for years, buy into such gibberish. Then you realize the fact that this thing is deeper than Kano. It's deeper than just the army coming with a funny name to do the exercise. It is a generational thing. They've been fed on the propaganda that Nigeria or other Nigerians are the enemy. That is fed on the propaganda that other Nigerians are the cause of their problem. Meanwhile, there's unemployment everywhere. Meanwhile, there are kidnappers everywhere. Meanwhile, there are armed robbers everywhere. But the entire Southeast, which is equivalent of Oyo State, is the main problem that we have when we are looking at things that are afflicted with the entire country. Like I said earlier, if there's been a closure after the war, and people know who are guilty or not, by now, those young men who are fed on the diet of disinformation and lies will not now stand up and believe in the propaganda that is not true. All the facts point to the fact that if there are problems, unemployment is general.
Should Kano be ignored?
No, it has not been ignored. He is right now at the mercy of the courts. He's on bail. He will get his day in court probably somewhere in October. Let the federal government continue to do what they are doing. Just put a show of force, but do not ignite a war. Because like I said, like what happened in Ife, 1, 2, 3 funny soldiers may just come who are drunk and just start a shooting war. And before you know it, it's beyond control. That is what I am afraid of. Because that's the downside of putting such massive force into such a small space. Because intimidation is one thing, provocation is another. And these two, we must work together. I commend the government, I commend the army, I commend the police. They've shown a lot of restraints. And I expect Ohaneze and other Igbo leadership to do the same. Rein in your fringe elements. Let's have a little piece of semblance of peace. Because ultimately, nobody goes to the war and come back as friends.
Yemi, I want to toe the same line now, as in to ask you, should Kano be ignored?
Definitely it should not be ignored. Look, I don't subscribe to the view that anybody should be ignored if you have genuine grievance or grievances, whichever it may be. But we have to understand one thing. If you live in a society that is governed by rules and laws, things must be done according to the system. Everybody has one complaint on the other in this country. So we mustn't really forget that fact. But the case of whether Kanu is ignored or not ignored should also not mean that it should be indulged. We got to this sorry pass because of our culture of indulgence in this country. Look, let's tell ourselves the honest truth. This country has a system that tends to reward deviance. I use the word deviance advisedly because I could have used the word criminality. We have it in the Southwest under OPC. We have it in the Niger Delta with the Niger Delta militants. And of course, you have it in the North in one form or the other. So we just have to realize that it is the culture of indulging people who have grievances. You leave them so long, then at the end of the day, you reward them. When it was happening in the Southwest, steps were taken, the Yoruba leaders came in. And of course, it was also, they were also instrumental, at least in reining in OPC. Otherwise, we would have had the kind of situation you are having in Southeast, in the Southwest now. The Niger Delta, we also have that until Yar'Adua came in and, of course, pacified them. For how long will we keep pacifying those waging war against the system? Things have to be done. Of course, when you have grievances, you must pursue your grievances legitimately in the legal way. Because there is nowhere in the world where any sensible government will tolerate the existence of an alternative power force. It is not done. Whether you like it or not, Kanu has become an alternative power force in the Southeast. In fact, I will say that Kanu has become the government de facto. It may not be the jure, really, but it has become the de facto government in the Southeast. And it's because it was indulged. People, okay, we don't want to rupture, we don't want crisis, so people they've been pandering to him. And let's be honest, the Igbo political leaders are failed in their responsibilities. Because if they had stepped in at the right moment when we start having the Radio Biafra thing, the situation will not have gone out of hand the way it has now.
All right, I would like to take feedback from my viewers from the Southeast. If you're in Abia, just don't hesitate. Mazi Okurafanko, I want to encourage you. Just call us and tell us what is going on and what you feel. And any of my Eastern brothers, anywhere you are in the country right now. But the bottom line is that, Adiola, the best way out of this problem, because it's a problem whether you like it or not, and it's not the best solution. When we had this, the South-South crisis in 2015, when they took arms against our oil installation, and as at that time oil production dropped. I want to repeat it because I have like a relationship with Chief Ralph Nwazurike. For a long time, anytime he's in town, we'll sit down together, I listen to his agitation and everything. And since I've known Chief Ralph Nwazurike, that is the movement for the sovereign state of Masob, I've not seen gun in their hands. I go to their secretariat at Agunlejika here. I've never seen any of them carrying ammunition and everything. But all they've been saying is a non-violent, agitation, that they want to do it legitimately and they want to actualize, their own country, being separated from the Republic of Nigeria. And this has not degenerated to violent protests. But Nnamdi Kanu, the last time I heard him talk, is still talking about this non-violent system. And don't you think that is the more reason why the government should go, negotiate with him, go on dialogue table?
Yeah, I think you will agree with me that you have just said what you heard from him. A lot of other people have heard him talk tough. On occasions, he had even threatened to turn the country into, that he had scientists that are ready to burn down the country into ashes. He has repeatedly called this country zoo. Have you not heard that? So he is someone that...
Okay, let me quickly pick this call. Adebayo is calling us from Surulere, Lagos. Thank you for joining us, Adebayo. Hello. Hello, thank you for joining us, Adebayo. All right.
Okay, so that has been on ground. He has said unmilitarized agitation. He has, in other instances, even gone to the extent of even forming uniformed men, that are expected. They call it Biafran Secret Service. You understand? So all these things are things that will give any government headache. The government has done what it's supposed to do, but I will still, like I said earlier, I want to advise that this Rwanda template is the best for this country. Civil war happened. Whether people were there or not, it happened. And there is right information. but people are not being told that right information. Whatsoever information they are being fed with is what they will believe to be the truth. So the Nigerian nation, to me, has failed in that regard by looking away from that serious issue. Look at.
Let me take Kelvin. Kelvin is calling us from Abuja. Many thanks for joining us, Kelvin. Hello, Kelvin. Hello, Kelvin.
Yeah, good evening, sir.
Yes, good evening. Go ahead with your contribution.
My name is Kelvin, calling from Abuja.
All right, go ahead with your contribution, Kelvin.
Okay, thank you. There's something I want to say. Mr. Ayo, good evening.
Good evening. Go ahead.
I greet our gentlemen sitting down close to you there. But there's something I want to bring. Our notice to. What I want to bring our notice to is that, listen. Remember when Buhari came, we know there are issues of agitation. Most of those people, they have issues that are not really okay. That they are agitating for maybe things that we think maybe they are just agitating for nothing. But Buhari set up this thing. Now, listen. Now, when the Southeastern governors, when they met with him, he brought out a lot of things, but they could not bring out something to bring down his argument. That is one. Number two, look at the appointment Buhari just made. He gave the North, he gave the South, and he gave the Southwest. Is that one not?
I wish I could explain what happened to that. Kelvin is gone. But the bottom line is that Kelvin raised a pertinent issue. I want us to also address it. Okay. Let me allow Diola to land.
Okay. So going back to that issue, you could see that there is this bad belly, or what, if you allow me to use the word, as a result of a lot of things that have, come into one. So I will advise that the government should try as much as possible to use that Rwanda template, and which is to ensure that everyone is brought, and
thank you,
this
Diola.
issue of Kano, I'm sorry. Okay. This issue of Kano, militarizing that zone is a good thing, at least for government to protect the sovereignty of this nation. But they should try as much as possible to tread softly. Not all the people in the southeast are in support of Kano, actually. So they should try as much as possible to ensure that those that are not in his support are not being threatened or are not being molested. So,
Yemi?
Yes.
Kelvin raised a vital issue.
Definitely.
He said that, look, this thing, the issue of equity in President Buhari's appointment, he has raised that issue, and I wanted to ask earlier that, is there any way that the appointment of Mr. President has been skewed in favor of a certain part of the country, and which, is like making the southeastern people from the southeast to feel left out?
Now, I'm really glad he raised it, but even if he had not, I had intention of doing so anyway. You see, by raising it, he has brought to the fore the political undercurrent of the agitation in the southeast. And let's go back. Let's rewind back. When did this agitation start? After Jonathan left power.
No, Masob has always been there.
He has always
Masob
been
was
there.
Throughout.
IPOB. No,
Okay.
You see, Uwazurike was quite, the way he was going about it was a bit different.
Okay.
There is a little bit, at least, there is a definite difference between the madness in quotes, between those two groups.
Masob and IPOB.
And IPOB. Masob wasn't going this way. And Masob did not gather the kind of support IPOB is gathering now. And it did not wield the kind of powers, the kind of influence IPOB does now. Those very few people were in support of Masob, but you need to see those who who are sympathetic towards
IPOB.
IPOB now, and is just hiding under at least.
To my question now.
Now,
has President Buhari's appointment been fair and equitable?
there are two ways to answer that, politically and legally. Every appointment going by the Constitution should reflect the federal character. And the question some other people have also asked is that, is there any position constitutionally, at least belonging to the Southeast, that the Southeast has been denied? The Southeast has representatives in the cabinet.
Yeah, I'm afraid.
No,
I'm
wait.
afraid. Let me go to GKB quickly.
Okay.
Because I will still come back to you. I'll pose the same question to you.
Yeah, of course.
There was a time I had to speak with the president of Ohanese Ndigbo, that's Chief Modo, and he asked me. He said, nobody in the Southeast is the Chief of Army Staff. Nobody is the Inspector General of Police. DG Customs, Controller Customs, nobody from the Southeast, Wadi. NSCDC, nobody from Southeast, Wadi. DSS, nobody from Southeast, Wadi. You can go on and all that. All the security apparatchik and anything that has to do with in Nigeria, Air Force, Navy, that nobody. That Ayo, ask yourself, what is happening?
Well, to the original question, is the president's appointment skewed? Of course. But perception is reality.
You said of course.
Of course.
Explain.
That's why I concur. Because two things. As far as the law is concerned, he has done what he's supposed to do. 36.
Yeah, the normal 36.
Okay.
Yes, we can dance around that one. The normal 36.
But again, if you go down that hole, we have to keep digging. There was a time the Chief of Army Staff was Igbo. There was a time the Chief of Police was Igbo.
Exactly.
There was a time the Minister for Defense, Minister for Finance, and Coordinating Minister was Igbo. Exactly. There was a time we have an SSG who literally took prime estate in Lagos State, the trade fair, and give it to Igbos under a government in this country. I'm talking about 16 acres of prime estate. It was not given to the state governor or to the state government. It was not given to people. It was given to an Igbo association. Did the people start IPOB at that point in time? Like I said, do not let us go through that hole, or else we'll spend the next 1 hour just go around in a circle. The problem is that, as Mr. Buhari, be fair to all in terms of legal representation. Yes. Has the perception been right that he has not been fair to all? Yes. And his perception reality? Yes. Because the old Yoruba element of the man who was black on one side and white on one side. You will tell me what you see here, and he will tell me what he sees here. Both of us are correct. Johnny Wodo is correct, but he has not been able to take it back to a period when the entire Parliament of State financial elements were in the hand of the Igbos. Or there was a time everything was in the hand of the Yorubas. We can nitpick as much as we want. The problem we have as a nation will not be solved like that.
Reaching home stretch on this now. It's as if the 2015 election so much divided us. That's, across ethnic, religion, and everything line. And you've been mentioning Rwanda, and going by Rwanda model. When are we going to be talking Nigeria, and Nigeria? Why must everything boil down to Hausa, Igbo, Yoruba, Southeast?
Thank you so much.
What is wrong with us?
I think when you posed the question earlier, that was what came to my mind. We no longer ask whether the right man is put at the right position. We want to query the religion of the person. We want to query the ethnic group that the person belongs. We at times go to the length of, even if the person is from the southwest, we want to know the state. If the person is from Oguse, we want to know whether it's Ijebu or Egba. There is no way.
even within Ogun State, they are still talking about it is turn of the Yewas. We have problems.
So exactly.
So that is the turn of the Yewas within Ogun State. This is this person. In Imo, they will say it is Okigwe zone, it is Olu zone.
So and that is also the reason why some people are looking at this Biafra. If they have it, are they going to manage it?
So it's rather very unfortunate. So I think we will be able to do it better if from individual at the individual level we start seeing whether Mr. President has done the right thing by faulting him if he has been able to put fine. There is no way that federal character must not be obeyed, but immediately the federal character is being obeyed. If we try to probe further, it will show that after that there will still be other questions we are going to ask. If it is an Ogun State man that is put there, we want to know whether it's from Ijebu or from Egba. If it's an Egba man, we want to know whether it's from Ake or Oko or Gbagura or Owu. So there is no way there won't be that element. But we will get it right if we start looking at whether the right thing has been done.
Wow. Coming up on Journalist Hangout, police say hate speech suspect risks 10 years in jail. Don't go away, it's still Journalist Hangout. We'll be right back after this break. Glad to have you join us back. This is Journalist Hangout. We're reaching you live from Lagos, Nigeria. And we now go to something intertwined. Nigeria is going through another dark era. Hate speech is fast becoming a national anthem. Recently, a youth group in the north threatened the unity of the country when it issued a quick notice to all Igbos living in the region. This infamous declaration fueled a wave of controversies across Nigeria and shook its foundation. It took the federal government months of hard work to put out the fire. To preempt this from ever happening again, the Inspector General of Police, Ibrahim Idris, says the police will soon begin the enforcement of a section of the Nigerian law that frowns on hate speech, especially on social media and other computer networks. It says its purveyors risk 10 years jail term or a fine of 25 million naira. But how do we draw the line such that this will not trample on the rights of the people to freely express their freedom? So my friend will always say, Femi Lawson, we always say, hope I'm not crossing the red line. So, gentlemen, some people will interpret this as an attempt to gag Nigerians, as an attempt to gag the press. How? Let's look at the subject, the case study now. When the likes of Yerima Sani, yes, went to Arewa House and gave that ultimatum. It's just dawned on me now that it took the acting president, that time the vice president, to go across to meet with all stakeholders, leaders of thoughts, instead of energy that would have dissipated in governance and moving an economy, getting our economy out of recession at that time. Some group of youths, Arewa youths, caused this problem, and the federal government had to wriggle, did a lot of things to wriggle out of this situation. So, how do we identify if an opposition, if somebody from the PDP is actually criticizing the governments.
Or if the person is talking about baboons that will be soaked in blood. Whether that's an hate speech.
I don't know about that one, Sha.
Just give me an example.
So,
I was talking of lions like jackals.
yes.
Hyena.
Rats and
That will
hyenas,
qualify as
So,
pythons.
yes.
it's a very thin line, really. And the
I don't
danger,
know
really.
what's the classification. We have a fundamental right. They say freedom of speech, freedom of assembly, freedom of...
There
So
are already
when-
laws on libel to cover.
Yes. Look, Ayo, don't let us dissipate energy on this. And the reason why I said that is simple. Number one, the cybercrime law of 2015, it's what this is all about. I think the problem is that majority of us slept while this law was being promulgated. And now that it is being brought out of the statute book, we're now seeing, so this is the impact of this law. That's one leg of it. Now, another thing is that the law also properly defines what is hate speech. If you target somebody based on his tribe, religion, etc., sex, etc., that is hate speech. I can say, you cannot say Mr. President is not leading Nigeria well. That is not hate speech. You are just giving a testimony of his stewardship.
Based on your perception.
Based on your perception. But when you now start targeting him personally, you are criticizing, okay, that is how Hausa people are. Hausa are idiots. Yoruba are buffoons. Igbo people are fools. That is hate speech.
You'd have crossed the red line.
You have crossed the national red line. And I don't think this is something, personally, I don't think this is something people should be afraid of. One thing I always tell people is this. If people are talking of a law, and you don't intend breaking that law, why are you being jittery? I know the law could also be misused to settle political scores, especially in kind of political, especially in kind of volatile political environment that we are in. But if you know what you are saying and you are cautious, you have nothing to be afraid of. I spend much time on the social media, and my brother, if you spend as much time as I do on the social media, your heart will bleed for the kind of information that goes on.
I wanted to raise that too, GKB.
I think that the danger,
because when you look at the way, the way articles are churned out, fake news, falsehood, fabrication, and
tendacious materials.
Everybody is now a journalist. And when we're taught ethics of journalism, mass media, there's no such thing, when
normally,
it comes to...
in journalism, when in doubt, leave out. Nowadays, it's when in doubt, promote it.
That's the...
You are right, but people are afraid based on the antecedents of the president in his first coming. And the law itself is ambiguous enough. And we all know that our police are very agile when it comes to enforcing certain aspects of the law that has to do with individual freedom. You and I know people who have been picked up deliberately on a Friday so that they can't get bail until Monday.
So spend the weekend there.
So they have to be there for the weekend. The law says you must get bail in 24 hours. But the man to give you the bail is at
the IPO.
Nowhere to be found. So they can be very creative. And this thing can swing both ways. And like I said, the danger there, it depends on who's going to implement it. If you have a very humane person who obeys the law, it will swing in the side of the people. But if you have somebody who has made up his mind that even calling me a tall black man is hate speech, then nobody's safe. And that to me is the danger. We can nitpick all we want. We can stand the legal fine line. But reality is that it depends on the person who is going to implement this law that will determine whether it's a good law. But I agree. Some of us don't go to the social something anymore because there are most people from a particular part of the country whose stock in trade now is abuse. you no longer have room for legitimate and normal conversation.
You can't even
Because
have
people
a
just want to
decent-
come and abuse you. Imagine somebody talking about something 1,000 miles away, and somebody was talking about ownership of Lagos. Or somebody went to jail, and somebody's father. And you wonder, who are the parents of these people? So people like that, of course, some of us will not be angered. But like I said, it depends on the person that will implement this law. Because one way or the other, something will go down.
I took our time to read that cybercrime law of 2015 when I discovered that this is part of what we are likely to talk about. And I know that people shouldn't be afraid except the execution of it. And do we need it? Yes, because of issues that have been raised on the social media, even outside the social media. Hate speech abounds everywhere. We need it. But what we should, in my mind, should be calling for now is a fair, objective, and balanced judiciary. If we have an independent judiciary, even let's bring a tyrant leader to want to ensure that he presides over this. It is going to be the judiciary that will pronounce someone guilty of hate speech or not guilty of hate speech. So if you have a fair and independent judiciary, I think we need to ensure that we curtail the hate speech that we have around through that.
Okay, we have to move on now. Now, on Tuesday, Governor Nasir El-Rufai of Kaduna State dropped one of the biggest disbeliefs that will stay with many Nigerians for a long time. He said 50% of the teachers penned down for reabsorption in the state's failed primary 4 exams. This statement sounds ridiculous, but it is true. They failed the exams. Their students passed effortlessly. Now, this is a grim reality that the governor was not proud to share. How did these impostors parading themselves as teachers find their ways into the classrooms?
The first question
if you remember former Governor Adams Oshomole.
Even Fayemi had the same issue.
Do you understand? Why did they want to reabsorb these people into the system?
Basically, when they were sacked, there was a lot of hoopla that the sack was not done well, that some of them were not given chances to defend themselves. And then they have to come up with the tests, basically to ensure that some of them are qualified to teach primary 4. And of course, just like anything else in life, those who will fail. But that's not the issue. The issue is that the rot is much deeper than this. And with the level of private schools that we have that are taking our children from foundation, and the quality of the roadside teachers that they employ, who they can pay 15,000, 18,000, you realize that the rot is not only in public schools, it's across the education system at every level. Have you ever tried to sit in an interview panel and listen to graduates with 2-1 speak? And you'll be ashamed that you have a degree in the language. It is that bad. And
with 2-1?
Yeah, people with 2-1 English, 2-1 mass communication.
Talking of 2-1, even first class.
Some of them, they will tell them 2-1, and they will be slaughtering the thing like normal business. And then you wonder where we are going. But having said that, neither the governor, or in this case, the government, absolve themselves from blame of what has become of our public school system. This is just the tip of the iceberg. If they do this across the board, the casualty will be far, far, far larger than this.
Now, the first step and the first question to ask, how did these people get into the system? What is the recruitment policy? What exactly is the kind of qualification they have? You see, the recruitment system is ab initio faulty, especially in the public school, because once the teaching job is seen as a dumb site, that is the job that is the last job any reasonable or ambitious person wants to do. It's only when you can't get something else to do. That's when you think you want to come. And don't be so surprised. Some of these people it may not be as if they are not qualified, but some of them don't even pay attention. And those who are even well qualified, who I know, they don't pay attention at all. And that is why we have the federal government came with the NTI, National Teacher Institute, and came with the teacher registration program, that the teaching job should be professionalized, so that there is a system that you have to pass through.
If you want to establish a school now, you must be a graduate of education. For you to be called a teacher, you have to be registered with the Teachers Registration Board. I think the office is in Kaduna or something like that. So you have to be registered. So you have to look at the quality of people who are being recruited. Are the right people being recruited, or it's just a case of, okay, I'm the chairman of the teaching service, teaching service commission. So I just take, okay, your brother needs job, bring it, irrespective of the qualification of the people. Due diligence is not being done, especially in the public sector, because they see job in the public sector more as a kind of patronage. If I walk into TVC today, I want to be given a job. I know there is a rigorous system I'll be put through, that if I'm not sound, I doubt if I can escape the eagle eye of one of those of the assessors. But that is not the case, because if I'm the local government chairman, or I'm the chairman of the political party, and I give somebody a note to go and give to the chairman of the Teaching Service Commission, who the hell are you to say the person is not qualified? If the person is not qualified, you have to make him qualify. Wow. So it's a case of, like they say in computer language, giggle, garbage in, garbage out.
It's unfortunate, and the most disheartening part of it is that this will be the third sitting governor that will announce that a ridiculous outcome of a teacher's performance during an examination. The first was the former governor of Edo State, Abia. That trend on the social media where a teacher could not even read a sentence. It happened to former Governor Kayode Fayemi, and this is the third one. Teachers came
against Fayemi that time.
So this is the third one. It's to show clearly that there is a problem with the educational sector in the country. If we are able to use this sample size. What came to my mind is that maybe other governors have not discovered this, or some have discovered and are still being dazzled by the disbelief that things like this could have happened. Now, I don't want Governor Nasir El-Rufai to just announce that it's a music that no one can dance to. He should actually declare a state of emergency in that educational sector in that state. And I think it's only through that we can get to where we are supposed to get to. I read his account, and I think what made him to say this was that a lot of students of that state that were being sent outside the country for undergraduate program were dropping out of schools. Maybe some of them couldn't cope with the rigors of the educational sector abroad, and he felt this is not something that he could be proud of. I think at this level, he should go a step further by not only announcing to us this ridiculous and disheartening outcome of what has happened to the educational sector in that state. He should go a step further by declaring a state of emergency in the educational sector of that state. And I think if a serious government wants to move a state or a country forward, it should actually start with the educational sector. That is what will be the bedrock of development in that state.
I remember when the guys from the opposition party, when they were questioning the validity of the missing Chibok girls, and somebody like Governor Ayo Fayose was saying that they were said to be writing physics that particular day.
They couldn't speak English.
And they couldn't speak English. This is a big contradiction. That shows maybe Kaduna is not the only state that's
obviously,
affected.
Governor Fayose has not been to the north. If he had been to the north, you know that is not peculiar.
Well, that is not peculiar. I grew up in the north. I had my education in the north. So I think it's not a proper reflection of the kind of education in the north.
Okay, let me quickly pick Abiola from Shomolu.
Yes. Good evening, April.
Good evening.
Good evening, sir.
Good evening,
Please,
madam.
I'm Alaja Abiola from Shomolu.
All right, go ahead with your
Please, I've
contribution.
been trying you since. Please, because what I want to discuss is not the one you are talking now, but you said it before.
Okay, go ahead.
I'm Mama 70. What I want to contribute, let me tell you,
Okay.
is two things. This, what they call this man fighting in Igbo side, Kadu. I want to know who is the man that wants to shake Nigeria. Then number two, it's about this our hospital something and teachers on strike, and they can't pay them. What are the government doing with money? All these senators' salary is too much. They should cut it to cut it to 3, and use to pay teachers and this thing. Because people are dying, many things are happening. What's wrong with Nigeria?
Thank you, Alaja Abiola. She called in from Shomolu. Thank you. Observation noted.
Yeah, like I was saying, you see, the rot in the system is pervasive. It's not peculiar to the North alone. I know the North is being stigmatized because of the reluctance of the people to embrace Western education, because they prefer the Islamic education. There are certain incentives that you get just to encourage them to go to school. But it doesn't mean that the standard of education there is very poor. Like I said earlier, I had part of my primary education in the north. I had my secondary education in the north. So it's not as if the education system is not.
Were you taught in Hausa?
Of course, my Hausa is very fluent.
No, as in, were you taught in Hausa language? Were you taught,
No.
Jack and G went up the hill?
No, I was taught in English.
Okay.
Of course, I was taught in English. But that's an aside. This is a malaise that spreads across the whole country. And it is a rot in the public sector.
GKB, your final?
I think we need to declare a state of emergency across the board. Our education is failing, our health system is failing. Everything that makes a government is failing. And the earlier we do something about it, the better.
Angela?
State of emergency in the education sector, and strict adherence to the recommendation of the UNESCO on 25% budgetary allocation to the education sector. So that is my take on that, and it is with that we can move the education sector forward.
Thank you, Yemi Ajayi. I
My
really
pleasure.
enjoyed myself with you. Thank you. GKB, thank you for coming on the show. Adiola, thank you. And that's where we call it a wrap on today's edition of Journalist Hangout. Join us tomorrow for another interesting episode of the program. Veronica Danik, where we'll be joining you, and watch the repeat broadcast tonight at on DSTV 418, GoTV 45, and all our other platforms. If you're on the north, you can just check the free TV channel 701, and if on Star Times 307 and BSky B all over across Europe. You can also watch Journalist Hangout on YouTube. That's youtube.com/TVC News Nigeria. Our feedback channel is Journalist Hangout at tvcnews.tv. I'm Ayodele Zubaku. Arios Samingos.